All right, Tomboy official. What is up? Um, I kind of hit record before maybe seeing kind of what I was gonna go into as a topic, but kind of just wanted to keep it general, like general reflection. Um, it's been nice. I've had a nice break. I think my break is over. Um, I think I talked about it before. How I was like, I'm kind of taking like a 30-day break, and then kind of like a 40-day break. Not like okay, 30 days, and then also 40 days. So not uh okay, 30 days and then 10 more days. Let me put it that way because that makes a little more sense maybe. Um so yeah. So my 30 days was September 13th. That was the 30-day mark, and now we're September 23rd, which is the 40-day mark, pretty approximately, pretty much. Um, and I just kind of wanted to see because I've learned, I don't know if there's like a specific source. I've learned maybe more through like spiritual and maybe kind of psychological literature. I've kind of learned in those areas about there's this 40-day number, but then there's also this 30-day number, like where they say like if you're going to try to change anything or something along those lines, do it for 30 days. Um, but then there's also this kind of, I guess, in a lot, I've heard it maybe more through Christianity, I don't know, or maybe through Judaism as well. But, you hear about, stories about people fasting for 40-day periods, or, you know, the story with Noah's Ark and the 40 days. And there is some theory behind like some significance with like a 40-day period. What that significance is, I don't really know the details behind it, but a lot of times it has to do with like change or cleansing or replenishing or just an adjustment period. um Now I will say it is not easy for me to kind of take breaks, especially when I'm kind of like um when I do kind of have energy. So it's been kind of a weird um break. Definitely a blessing and a good thing. Like it's not like bad. Definitely ups and downs, but that's just kind of how life is. It's not just gonna be like every day you wake up and it's gonna be like the most perfect day. Everything goes exactly as it should go. But I mean, nothing. I don't think anything too bad happened. It's just been a lot of adjusting ideas on things. Um, but it is kind of interesting, like when it comes to podcasting or like other things, where I noticed with that job, something was happening during that period at this job, um, where like for it's been maybe years, that I was like pretty into podcasting. You know, at one point it was like, when I was in San Diego, it was like, can't wait till I get off work. And then, you know, when the world was shut down and stuff, it was like, well, this is what I'm doing after work. I'm going to go sit down the street and podcast, or sit out in front of the house and podcast, and just do it for hours on end, um, until dinner, or until I needed to go inside and use the restroom, or just basically until I was done. You know, I just and I, it was pretty easy to kind of post. Um, This was back when things were going through Anchor, before Spotify took over, before the monetization process changed, before all that, before podcasting was even what it is now. Because now it's like basically talk shows and people interviewing one another and a lot of panels and a lot of research going behind things and people. I don't know. I know. When you get into certain spaces, certain niches, you kind of start hearing the same stories over and over and over again. For example, if you like finance, it's like whenever there's some kind of, I don't know, conference or something where Jerome Powell has some kind of update or some kind of, you know, update about, I don't know, it could be anything. Like, I think right now the housing, like the interest rates and things like that, like there's always like something that's like, this is the theme, and then everybody's like regurgitating like the same ideas. Um, and it's like you can kind of get different angles, but it's like, I don't know, like for myself, I've been in a way almost playing with like trying to disconnect more from stuff, like disconnect more from the from not really the online spaces. Like I can't say that I'm not online, but just being more intentional about, you know, spending time offline and getting offline and maybe even having days or half days where I'm like, I'm not gonna be on my phone, or I'm gonna not go on Instagram today, or I'm, just not doom scrolling videos. And like it's kind of taken me a period of time to kind of get to a place where I'm a little more disconnected in some ways. Um, but it's kind of it's I don't know, something about it's kind of slowed me down too. But there, I don't know what it was about that job. I feel like there was just something with it that was too. Glad I tried it. But it kind of sapped my energy in a way that was like real weird. And it might have been the combination of like, having um, some kind of medical things going on, like trying some new types of medication type things and having a bunch of weird side effects from that. And I think all of that coincided kind of like together. Like it wasn't, I don't think it was just isolated. Um, but I did notice, like, man, like, I, I don't know, it kind of did something to my creative energy too. Like, cause I know, like I said, like during the Rona, I was pretty much recording after work often. And then I think once I moved back to LA, I started recording before work. I would wake up and record because, no one in this house wakes up that early. And so I was pretty motivated to record. And oftentimes I would even record before work, even though it was like just me talking about, you know, random stuff about my day. Um, and then, I definitely took a pretty lengthy break after leaving that job. I took maybe 3 months off. That was probably the longest break I've ever taken. And I took like 3 months off, um, and was between a lot of things and, recognized a lot of stuff. Um, like, as far as, um, just things I wanted to start working on more, like mental health and physical health. I was like, well, my schedule's not so swamped, so let me like, you know, get my doctor's appointments and therapy appointments and all kinds of different stuff. And I did that for a while, and it was really helpful and really good. Uh, mm, other than the side effect stuff, like that lasted from like last August, like August 2023, pretty much all the way till I want to say past this new year, because I had my back injury and like right before the new year. So at the very end of, right before Christmas of 2023, I had that back injury, and then coming into 2024, it was, that back issue really messed me up too. So it was that and some other thing that I was trying to like manage, that I opted into a medication regimen that a doctor was recommending, and I was like, I don't even know why I did that. It was not a good idea, but I mean, I don't know if I'm glad I tried it. I guess now that it seems kind of settled, like I was kind of dealing with that from like August until April of 2024 when I started that more recent job, and then I was like, these side effects are interfering with this job. Like I can't function like this. Um, so this 30 to 40 day period has been kind of like an adjustment from that, because I couldn't really keep up with what I needed to do with all that going on, and I'm not going to go into detail about it. I may have somewhere else. I think when I was talking about Ramadan, I kind of did go into details about it. I don't really want to go into details about it though. It was just an annoying experience. Um, and so between that and my back, I've definitely been, had to be kind of less active, physically active, or my physical activity is a lot less predictable. So things like gym days and all that, it's like I'm kind of going by how I feel. Like if I'm in pain, I'm like, is that pain because of inactivity, or is it pain because of too much activity? I'm trying to still balance that out. But otherwise, my back pain is, I want to say it's kind of at a point, since I'm not sitting in a desk chair all day, like I was with that job, it has actually helped in this last 30, 40 days. It has helped to not really be sitting in a chair for so long. But I've definitely been laying down more than usual, and I don't like it. I don't like it, but it's like, I mean, sitting upright for very long periods of time is just hard for me. Um, and having to be at a desk for like 8.5 hours, even though I could still stand up and stuff, is just, it was definitely not pleasant. And I, I was having like a lot of pain. I think I talked about it, but I kind of had to adjust my work schedule so that I would do all my desk sitting from like 8:30 in the morning till about, we'll call it maybe 2 or something like that. And then I'd spend the last 2 to 3 hours of the day kind of documenting whatever I'd done for work. Because a lot of times what you're supposed to do is perform the service, document right after, or simultaneously be documenting while you're, talking to patients, and then, you know, go and put it in the system, like finish putting it in the system. But what I was doing was kind of writing the notes on paper, or actually simultaneously documenting too. And then I'd go back in and clean things up, and I'd be basically having to like lay on my bed on my stomach and like type on my work computer, the laptop, and put in the notes and everything that way, because I couldn't really sit in the desk chair for that long every single day like that. Um, so I mean that, as well as, the health issue that I had going on with the medication side effects, like I needed to be out of the house more, um, trying to like see patients in there for like home visits, and like I just wasn't able to really do that. And then my energy and my focus and my sleep was also affected with these side effects and things, and it was just, I was like, wow, like don't mess with hormonal stuff. Anything that's gonna kind of like screw the hormones. I am not going into any of that. But that's the first time I think I've ever taken any prescription anything. Well, I don't know if I ever had any prescriptions as a child. I might have. I remember taking like, mm, there were I think there were prescriptions I'd had before because I remember having some nasty medicines as a kid. Like it wasn't long term, and I don't know what it was, but I remember for a time I did have to take something out of some plastic brown bottle that tasted absolutely disgusting. I don't know if it was an antibiotic. I don't know what it was, but I did have to take something, and it was temporary, and I don't know what it was. And even from a kid, I remember when I was really young getting like those finger pricks for like anemia and things like that. I remember being anemic when I was a young child, but then that didn't come up again until later on. Um, but I mean, I've been dealing with like iron level issues and stuff like that for a while now. Like actively dealing with them. Like I kind of knew something was up, but you know, once I started getting back to the doctor, um, I, once I got all my blood work and everything, they're like, whoa, you need to kind of like deal with this. Um, so I think I found a an iron, you know, supplement that is good. It's 25 milligrams. It's a very small pill. I can't really swallow it, but I just can't swallow pills. It's kind of like a mental thing, I think. Um, and but yeah, I think I've always been kind of maybe a little standoffish about like medicines, even though, working in the mental health field and in like medical case management type stuff too. I mean, you're always talking to people about medicine, and I'm not against it. I'm not against it. I guess the thing is, I don't understand it enough, and there's something about it that I haven't really fully unpacked that I'm like, I'd rather stick with nootropics, just kind of, like things like cannabis or psilocybin or like CBD products, CBN, THC, even Delta 8, Delta 9, like psilocybin products, like other kind of like mushroom products that aren't psilocybin or psilocybe. I don't know how to say it. Psilocybe. I don't know how to say it. There's another word too that I don't really know exactly how to say it, but there's part of me that's comfortable with that, even though there is kind of a learning curve with it because I've never really gotten it prescribed, but I've told doctors about it, and I think um, I don't know if they understand. And then things like melatonin or L-theanine, or like things like yerba mate, coffee, C4 pre-workouts, or C4 Smart Energy. Um, C4, I don't think it's natural. I think the Smart Energy one is natural. Don't quote me on that, but I think it is. The other one, the one that you get in the tall can, or the powder, the pre-workout powder, I don't think it's not natural, but I mean it serves a purpose. It works for what I need to use it for, and so there's kind of a routine I've been trying to balance out where it just for me, I'm like, C4 maybe twice a week, but otherwise, I kind of switch between like coffee and yerba mate, and right now I'm kind of back with the yerba mate. Um, but I don't know, like I mean, I'm not taking all of that every day. Like I'm not just like Like, okay, let's go down the list and like take a bunch of edible gummy things. But I did try some different multivitamins, daily multivitamins. But because of the issue of like not really swallowing pills very well or very easily, I found gummies, like gummy vitamins. But then I kind of thought about it and I'm like, dude, like now I'm taking like 9 gummies every day. I'm like, I don't think that's good, to have like so many gummy products. Um, I was taking like a women's vitamin, and it's like take two, and then this other focus thing. I don't know if I was taking those the same days. And then if I have cannabis edibles, they're usually gummies. The melatonin that I take is usually a gummy, um, and a lot of them are take two. So that was at, and then I was taking like another one. It was like this mushroom mix, this natural mushroom mix, but in a gummy form, like a gummy bear form. So it was really good for like intestinal. It was like it kind of almost had like a probiotic effect. It was good for like that gut motility, but I was like, it's another gummy, so you could take up to two to four of those a day, and then it was like so between that gummy, it was like 2 to 4 of those, and then the women's gummy that was like 2 of those, and then maybe like some melatonin or CBD or THC at night, and it would be like however much, like either one of those or like 2 of the melatonin gummies. So I was taking about like 7 to 8 or 9 or so gummies a day, and it was like that's a lot of gummies to be taking. It's basically like I'm eating gummy bears every day. And I don't really eat candy that much, but I was eating candy. It was basically eating like 7 pieces of candy a day, pretty much, or more. I think at one point it was like 9 or 10. Because they just add up. If it's like 2 of these and 2 of those and 2 of those, it's like it just started adding up, and I was like, but this is like every day. Like this can't be good. But I got to a point where I was like, let me just finish them because I did purchase them and they're not cheap, and so I was like, let me just finish them. And I did notice some differences, but I'm like, um, mostly right now I'm kind of working on my iron levels, and um, so far the new supplement that I tried that I paid for out of pocket, but it was like 12 something dollars off Amazon. I think it's a kid's vitamin. I can try and find it if people are interested, but this is not medical advice. I already got in trouble on one podcast for posting stuff that was too much information, I guess, about cannabis, and people couldn't handle that. YouTube. Um, Let me see. So I guess if I'm talking about the mushroom gummies, those are by Drops of Nature, in like a purple pack. At least at this time, it's purple. Let me see. Where are the other ones? I can't find them. I'm trying to see what I purchased. It doesn't show. Oh, that's because I got it from Sprouts. It wasn't from Amazon. I looked it up again on Amazon, and then to kind of compare prices, because I was gonna either buy it off Amazon or add it to my grocery delivery, because I did an Instacart delivery, an Instacart order, and got it delivered. So it came with the Instacart order. So if I go to buy it again, let's see what it says. Is it gonna show up? I don't know, it's just showing all the stuff that I always buy, I guess. I don't know, guys. These apps, I feel like every time I go in these apps, they're like, it's like a different, the user interface is different every single time. If I go in my orders, I want to see the receipt. It should be on the receipt. I see the picture of it. I'm just trying to say what the picture says. Dude, I can't see it. I don't know. Where's the receipt? Um, oh, view items. Ugh. This is what I mean. It's like it gets tiring just trying to be online, like finding things and clicking all over. So it's called VegLife, VEGLIFE, vegan iron 25 milligram, 100 count. Um, so I kind of calculated, between this and this fortified total cereal, um, for 5 days of the week, I should take something, so either one of these iron supplement pills or some of the cereal, which would give me at least, we're estimating about 18 milligrams of iron a day through that. Because even when I've calculated my, um, the nutritional value for a lot of things I eat. It's easy to get protein. It's way too easy to get like carbs and sugars and fats and sodium. Those are like, if you need those, that's not hard to find. Iron is hard to get, like, and I noticed, the more I started like checking on labels and stuff, because I do know how to read labels, and in our the health program I'm in, they've refreshed us on how to like, read nutrition labels and stuff, and so I'm pretty up to date on that, and um, it was just interesting because I was like, what it takes to get 18 milligrams of iron a day, it's work, guys. Because that's like, if you even say 3 meals a day, trying to get 6 milligrams is a lot. Like a lot of things have like no iron in them, or maybe 1 milligram or 2 milligrams of iron. So eggs have iron, but it's just a little bit. Spinach has iron, but it's just a little bit. Even the meats that they recommend, like bison or liver and stuff like that, it's got like maybe like 6 milligrams or so. But it's like I'm not eating that for every meal. And some meats, I guess like salmon has some, but it's not a lot. And then oats and beans, but it's like it depends what you buy with oats and beans. Like you have to look at the labels and see, because some of them don't really have that much iron. Like I looked at some, I made the mistake before of buying just like oats, beans, all kind of stuff, lentils, and then I was like, oh, this can of lentils doesn't really hardly have any iron in it compared to like the dried little bag of lentils that you have to cook. And then there were other dried bags of lentils. When I looked at the labels, they hardly had any iron. So it's like, it's not just the actual, that food, it's like you have to look at the labels and see, does it have iron in it, you know, because I was like, okay, I've got like lentils or beans or different meats, and like, so I kind of made the mistake of just like getting the products, but not really the specifics of the iron levels in it. Um, it's just tiring, and then it's like, well, once I buy it, I'm not gonna trash it. I'm still gonna like eat it, but there's only so much like liver and oats and salmon and eggs and spinach and stuff that you're gonna really want to eat, you know. And I'm pretty easygoing with food, and then I do have an iron supplement prescribed from the doctor, but it made me nauseous every time I took it. And they're like, "Oh, eat it with food, or have it with food, or have it with orange juice and some vitamin C, or like." And I'm like, I'm doing that. I'm doing exactly what it says. Like, I've tried the different methods and like researched it out and tried so many different things. And I was like, dude, like, I don't have the capacity to be like nauseous, you know, like for like multiple hours every, like a few times a week, so adding that to like the back issues and then the other, hormonal things going on, like, it was like, that's a lot, you know, that's a lot of things. Like, so in the process of trying to like adjust these issues, there were more issues. The back thing wasn't really because of anything. It was basically, I think, because I was completely out of shape. Because when I had COVID, I forced myself to kind of like lay down for like 2 weeks pretty much, other than like the basic stuff I needed to get up and do, and just take that time. And for like 2 weeks, I was like just out of commission. And then, one day I was like, I'm gonna have some caffeine and get up because I'm feeling a little better. I got super motivated on this project of clean the garage out, and I was really happy with that. With doing that, I don't regret that I did it, but it definitely, I injured myself doing that, and have been dealing with that injury ever since. So, you know, it's a mess, but you know, I'm I think I'm at a point now where it's like finally, things are kind of more steady. It's been just a lot of trial and error, just like testing stuff out and trying stuff out. And honestly, if I had my regular work schedule this whole time, if it was always like a 40 hour or 40 plus hour work week, I don't think I could have even tried to do all this. You know, I wouldn't have tried to do all this because, that's why I've been neglecting a lot of it for so long, because I'm like, I can't do both. I can't be like nauseous and working all day, or in pain and working all day, or, doing some other things and going to all these appointments and doing all this other stuff. It's like when the sites you're connected with are only open during work hours, and then it's like, well, now I have to make the choice of either skipping work, you know, for a couple hours here and there just to go to appointments. Um, it's just too many things to juggle. I was like, it's just too much for me, honestly. So I had to kind of come to terms with that for myself, and I'm like, I'm gonna have to take a step back from some stuff, um, and get all this other stuff kind of, figured out. Because, I'm like, I don't want to go on for like years on end just like not managing things. But there was so much trial and error over multiple months that it's just been like I think I'm finally past all of that. I think I'm kind of like in the space where I'm like, I'm just keeping it basic now. Um, so between all that health stuff and then like adjusting my time online internet wise, like as far as like productive stuff online, because I don't think I can even get work that's not related to being online, unless I'm like in a factory or something where I'm just doing manual labor. Almost everything I know is kind of like online. So that's mostly what I'm kind of up to lately, is like this, adjustment period. I'm taking it in stride in different phases and trying to be like pretty intentional about it and be patient. It's hard to be patient, but I haven't been doing nothing. I've definitely been doing a lot, but it's like there's some things that it's like, okay, I gotta ride this out for a couple days, or like ride that out for a couple days. So it's been definitely a process, of trying to like, do things in a way that, um, make sense and are helpful methods. Um, I don't regret it. I mean, there were times where I regretted it, but overall, you know, it's it's not an idea I grew up with. Like my parents, I mean, I didn't grow up with my parents going to doctors. I mean, when I was a kid, they took me when I was like young, but then ever since I became like an adult, it was kind of in my hands. Like nobody was like, go to the dentist, go to the eye doctor, go get your physical every year. It was like I just didn't do it. Like I was in college and I was just like, I just didn't do it. I didn't, you know, take the time to do it. Like I wasn't assigned to a primary doctor for like longer than I should probably admit, like a really long time. Like I wasn't even doing the yearly appointments for like years on end. And there was a point when I realized I was like, I should probably start going to the doctor. Um, and I was doing like maybe some stuff by phone or like online services type of stuff. Um, but I wasn't getting labs. I wasn't, doing that. And, maybe I was, um, it's interesting though. Like, I wonder what would have happened if I was working, like, not being in a health field at all. Um, because at least it was something that I had to think about. Like, it's like, I gotta think about my mental health and physical health. Even if I wasn't, like, actively going to doctors all the time, I was, like, at least trying to, like, okay, gotta go to the gym, gotta go, prepare to snowboard, gotta train for that, gotta, there were things that I was like, I gotta do these different things. And I started to do those different things. And, um, um, it helped. But, I wasn't getting like a lot of professional advice all the time. Um, but when I look at things, I'm like, my parents, like, you know, they let things go. Like they didn't, like I, haven't heard of my folks going to doctors up until like probably this year, maybe last year. They've been neglecting things too. They've never been regularly like, oh, I'm gonna get my annual physical. I'm gonna get this or that. Um, they've let things go too. I've seen that happen. My dad does a lot of contract jobs, and so sometimes he has to get a physical to go into a new job, and so like I've seen him do that more recently, or since the Rona. We've all kind of like popped in and out of like doctor related sites. Because of that, we've had to be a little connected with like having to get vaccinated and for work and stuff like that, all that BS. But yeah, we kind of uh, you know, I don't know. My family is, I wouldn't say my siblings, just more so my folks. They don't really care for their health. Um, Not that much. They still snack every day, eat super unhealthy on occasions. Um, don't really exercise that much. Um, don't really care for their sleep that much. Like I see my dad like taking flights out at different times, and he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go straight to work," and it's like you're gonna leave at like 2 in the morning from one place and then just sleep on the plane barely. That's not good, fitful sleep, and then just like go into work, and like I see that kind of stuff where I'm like, I wake up on a weekend morning and it's like 6 in the morning. I'm making coffee and my dad's up watching soccer. He's been laying on the couch since whatever time. It's like, you know, and I can't say that doesn't play a role in like the choices I've made. But I mean, I'm older now. I'm not like oh, my parents don't do it, so I don't have to do it. But I do think that plays a little role. But I've definitely been raised around, a health message environment through religious stuff that I grew up in. And so it's not like I'm completely not knowledgeable. And then living in Southern California, there's that kind of pressure to not really have that beach body, but, like there's a lot of vegans and vegetarians and health conscious people around. And then being working in the mental health field, there's I'm around more health conscious things to the point where like if I wasn't in or around any of that, things could have been way worse. So it's like I've been recognizing things for a while where I'm like, I need to adjust this. I need this area of my life, like my sleep or whatever, for my energy to be better. Because performance wise, it's like I know now that it is not possible to take shortcuts for too long and work these types of crazy jobs. Um, and it's also not possible to have health issues or physical or mental health issues going on or side effects going on and trying to work these types of jobs. It's like I need every day to be like predictable and feeling well and on point. I can't have things kind of like getting pushed aside for too long to a point where it's like I'm not functioning. But also the educational environment I was raised around, it was like pull all nighters, stay up all night, do what you gotta do for the A, get that grade, push yourself, get higher education, get more education. Like, people who are in those environments, they're usually not just like if you've seen like Grey's Anatomy, you wouldn't say they have a healthy lifestyle, you know, like people who are trying to be doctors, maybe even nurses, people who are getting doctorates, even if it's not, for medical, but if it's like, scientific research, you know, a lot of us who went to grad schools and medical schools and all these types of schools, even getting a master's, it's you learn unhealthy habits just by being in a certain field. Like you are almost forced to be unhealthy. Um, that it's like expected of you to like push yourself to your limits mentally, emotionally, physically. I mean, it's almost like if you're training athletically, that happens too. Like, I'm pretty sure Olympic athletes have their things, professional athletes, they have their things. And I almost consider it the same thing. Like, when you're in a highly academic world, you kind of are taught or encouraged to kind of like push to a point that's unhealthy. And I think maybe, I don't know if I'm right about saying this, but maybe when you're in your 20s, you can kind of sustain that. You have a lot more stamina. I mean, more than you're going to have when you're 40. Um, I'm not saying it's a good idea to like push yourself all through your 20s and like wear yourself out, because it's going to take a toll on you later on. That stuff isn't going to just completely go unnoticed or yeah, it's going to come out later, even if it's not immediate, but you might be able to tolerate it more earlier on. So maybe if a person's going to do it, that's the time to do it before they maybe get more responsibilities of like car payments or house payments or, more bills and like racked up student debt, and maybe they're even starting a family or being more serious in relationships. And, once you have all those other, categories of things to manage, you do get kind of more stuck in the choices you have to make, because it's like, well, if I want to move across the country just to like get a job, but now I've got like kids, in school and like people that they're attached to, I can't just uproot them, every time I'm like, hey, the grass is greener over there. Like if you're single, you can kind of do that. And I know people that are very like not even in a non healthy way. I know people that are very like, I'm just gonna go where things are better, and they'll uproot and go do that, and they're better off doing it. And they're like, oh, things aren't, not that they don't struggle, but it's like, if things are kind of falling apart for long enough in one area, they're like, okay, time to up and go to this better job opportunity, or move to another state and like do this over here now. And I kind of admire that. But I mean, these people are like single, don't have families that, you know, they have to attach to. They make friends very easily. They have their own like pretty hardcore like health lifestyle and focus and stuff. They're not really. They're not. They're kind of another category um, of individual. For me, I don't mind doing different stuff. I just I like being near people I know and having my social life and like these long-term relationships. I can't really see myself, you know, not having that and just moving somewhere where I know nobody um, for a job opportunity. And I get it. I'm not knocking it. I think it's, at least in these days and times, it's kind of wise for some of us to take that risk. But I am trying to take a little more risks, not unhealthy risks, but I'm trying to take a little more risks. That's kind of what this time period has been about. But I have had some setbacks. But I think I'm mostly past most of those setbacks, or at least past them enough that I'm in a new phase now. And like I said, past that 30, 40 day phase now. So, yeah, I'm doing a lot of readjusting goals. This Monday morning, I've got a lot I've got to figure out on the financial end because I didn't plan that yesterday on Sunday. I had plans on Sunday to do a lot, and my energy said no. And so I'm like, I'll do it Monday because Monday's a weekday and Sunday's still a weekend. So I was like, let me give myself that space to still have a weekend. And it wasn't the 40-day period mark either. So I was like, don't push one day early, just keep the schedule. Like, I'm on schedule. So I don't know. I'm, with podcasting, episodes have been few and far between. But, I think, I don't really want to be posting about like health journeys and stuff all the time. But, I don't mind posting more about the reflective stuff. Maybe a little more on the psychology end of things. There was a book I was kind of getting into, and then I just kind of stopped reading it. So, I think I'm gonna get back into that, and if it's worth talking about, I'll probably talk about it more. It was kind of LGBT related, but I'll see. I'm kind of just doing some other stuff I need to do. So I'm gonna post this and get on with my Monday. I do have some other stuff I actually need to edit, but I decided to post a new this morning, and that episode can wait. It had, I don't know. It can wait. It was kind of a different topic, a different set of topics, but it was really, really long, so I need to break it up because it was too long. But it's like 2.5 hours. So yeah, well, I'm gonna get on with my Monday. I've pretty much got my day planned out already. I'm just, a lot of the stuff I need to do outside of the house, I don't need to do it yet. So I've got a couple hours, about 2-3 hours still. So I've got some phone calling to do and things like that, to kind of deal with the whole like being on hold and all that kind of stuff. So I'm gonna have to deal with that sometime today, probably pretty soon. So I guess that's it for now. Just kind of a general check-in reflection, and that's about it for now. Thanks for listening.